Welcome back to our continuing expedition to follow the Jolly Giant Creek from its headwaters all the way down to Humboldt Bay, a distance of about 4 miles. Right now we're at about the halfway point, and this is where the Arcata Community Forest meets the campus of Cal Poly Humboldt. I'll meet you a short ways downstream. So in part one, we had a lovely walk along this creek as it went through the Arcata Community Forest. It was a little bit under 2 miles, but when it reaches this point, this creek takes on a completely different character because this is the point where this creek now enters into Arcata's urban environment. So in the previous episode, I met with Mark Andre, who is the former Environmental Services Director for the city of Arcata, and I asked Mark, where does this creek go once it enters this giant concrete tunnel? And this is what he had to tell me.
From here, the creek flows below ground for 3,000 feet, 6/10 of a mile, through Cal Poly Humboldt, underneath the highway, and then it pops out on the high school grounds.
It is contained in concrete all the way through that distance.
Concrete pipe, yeah. 6-foot diameter, 7-foot diameter in some places.
Is it all gravity flow from this point all the way to where it emerges?
It is gravity flow all the way.
Now, part two of this expedition will be completely different than the first part because now we'll be following the second half of the Jolly Giant Creek as it winds its way through Arcata's urban environment. We're going to start with this first part where it goes a little under 3/4 of a mile, all underground. And then we're going to end up at the point where the creek finally emerges again on the other side of the Highway 101. So I invite you to join me as we continue our expedition of the lower half of the Jolly Giant Creek as it winds its way through Arcata's urban environment right here in Humboldt, outdoors. I just find this so remarkable. Here's all these cars and trucks roaring by right below us on the Highway 101. And beneath all that activity flows the Jolly Giant Creek. I asked Mark what it's like in that tunnel. You know, can anything live in there? And here's what he had to say. What about aquatic life?
That's a good question. What's living in this 3,000-foot section? Probably not much, because it's dark, it's a barrier for migration of fish upstream. Some aquatic life, of course, gets flushed in there and may hang out in some little eddies. Concrete pipes don't offer a lot of refuge and deep water habitat.
Could lamprey get through here, do you think?
They can go through almost anything, so it's possible.
Yeah. Mark said once I crossed over the Highway 101, he said head for the Arcata High School athletic field, and the Jolly Giant Creek emerges on the west end of that field. He said look for a clump of alder trees. So that's where we are heading next. Here it is. Okay, this is where the Jolly Giant Creek emerges after having been confined for a little over half mile in its dark concrete tunnel. And once it emerges here, it continues its jolly journey down to the Arcata Marsh in the Humboldt Bay, a distance of a little under 2 miles. Directly east of me is the Arcata High School athletic field, and this is right about where Shea Park begins. However, before we head into Shea Park, I have a special visitor lined up here who is going to meet us.
Hey Ray, what's going on?
Great, great. Come on in.
How you doing?
I'm still getting comfortable. This will make it a little easier for us.
All right.
And then we'll stay out of the wet grass too this way.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. This is my first time here, but you've been here before.
Oh, heck yeah.
And why have you been here?
Well, I walk around a lot. I live in Arcata. I'm an environmental scientist. I teach environmental science, ecology, botany classes, and our students have many field trips that are along Jolly Giant Creek.
Okay, do you do field trips with the students down here in this portion?
Well, we have sampled both above the culvert in the headwaters of Jolly Giant, but also down here in, I call it the Arcata Bottoms, below this culvert. And I did have one group of students sample here in Shea Park, and they found the indicators of high water quality here, which was a surprise. I didn't expect it.
I've been spending most of the time in the upper area before the culvert. I notice when I come down here, all of a sudden I see a big difference.
The water is slowed down, it meanders more, it has a more of a muddy bottom, so you might find differences in the insect community. But I would suspect the biggest impact down here is the human impact. The stormwater runoff from all the parking lots and all the streets in town. They all drain into storm drains, which empty directly into the creek untreated. So all the garbage, all the oil, all the antifreeze, all the dog poop washes directly into the stream. That probably has a huge impact.
What are your overall thoughts about this creek, about us having this in Arcata?
Well, I love Jolly Giant Creek. I love Arcata. I love nature, and we have a creek that has always been here. Since water has fallen from the sky and these mountains were here, this creek has been here. We've just temporarily impacted it with our civilization. It connects the Arcata Community Forest to the Humboldt Bay. And if you love nature, why not invite that nature into the heart of your town? And it already has, it's already there. If you walk around town, you can see the places where it's daylighted, and you can see there's the creek, it's beautiful.
Well, thanks again, Jack. I really appreciate it. I'll let you get on your way, and I'm going to reconnect with Jake and continue on with this journey and adventure.
Later,
okay, now we're going to follow the Jolly Giant Creek as it heads into Shea Park. We're going to meet up with Jake Stoll, a really talented, licensed drone cinematographer, to film what he can of the creek. So I'll meet you over at the east entrance of the Shea Park. Let's go.
Where's the creek go?
It ends right here and it goes underneath 11th Street. This is where the creek really enters the Arcata urbanscape. Since you have the drone, you could probably locate where it surfaces next, and you could use whatever drone footage you can get. And that way we'll sort of leapfrog our way through the city to find where the Jolly Giant Creek flows.
All right.
Sound like a good plan?
Sounds like a good plan, yeah. All right, well, I'll let you know when I find something. Let's get started.
Okay, great, let's go. Okay, we are now entering right in the heart of Arcata downtown, about 2 blocks west of the Arcata Plaza. And we are approaching a segment of the creek that around 35 years ago was saved by 2 votes of Arcata City Council members to not have it paved over for a new development. And we are about to meet one of those council members who agreed to meet us here, Julie Fulkerson. And there she is. Julie, hey.
Hey, hi. Come on, I'm already settled. It's good to see you.
Gee, Julie, thank you so much for meeting me here. This is really exciting. Okay.
You're welcome.
This is a beautiful spot you picked, by the way.
Is this amazing? I mean, we're just like a couple of blocks from the plaza.
Yeah, 2 blocks west of the Arcata Plaza.
Yeah.
Here we are with this section of the Jolly Giant Creek.
It's pretty idyllic, yes.
It's a nice place to visit. Okay, let me get into it here. Okay. So I was doing some research about the Jolly Giant Creek, and I discovered an article in the Arcata Union from 1987 December when you were a member of the City Council. This is 35 years ago.
Thank you. Okay.
A proposal was brought before council that had been recommended by Planning Commission to build an apartment complex right where we're sitting, and those plans included covering up this little segment of the creek. And then you spoke up according to the article and said, whoa, wait a minute. We should keep this creek open. We should save it. You were approved of the development. You just didn't want to cover up the creek. Can you tell me more about that story?
I thought it was important to save the creek for a number of reasons. Partly because I wanted people who would live here eventually in these apartments to have this experience, but also in a broader way for people walking by. I see people right now walking by. They get to have this same enjoyable moment in the middle of an urban community where there's really a lot of traffic and a lot of asphalt.
When you spoke up for this creek, you had some pushback at that council meeting according to the article. It was said that that was the only way this development could be viable is by covering up this creek, and yet you held your ground with a few of the other council members.
I think people say those things in meetings because they want to put the fear into elected officials. Well, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm just not going to do this. I mean, we still see examples of that. And in this case, I did talk to the developer at the time because I really felt strongly that the value of the property would actually be greater with the creek than it would be with an asphalt parking lot. If you see something that's attractive, it's more interesting, more valuable than something that's not, that's just plain ugly asphalt. There's plenty of asphalt. We all know what that looks like. It's not interesting. And so this way, I mean, look at this amazing tree.
Yeah, I know. This is a beautiful spot.
It probably was a baby at the time, and now it's just so lush and so gorgeous. So if the same owner owns the property, it's going to be worth a lot more than it would have been if it just looked like a generic apartment anywhere in California. We have plenty of those. We don't need more. But to do something creative like this that has long-lasting value is so much more important and valuable to the community, and this is a good model of it. And lots of times we're sort of used to doing the short-term project, short-term solution, and really with just a couple more steps, it's possible to come up with something really great. And I think that's what inspires people to do more good things, is where there's an example of something that might have at first seemed impossible or expensive. Turns out in the end, it's not impossible and it doesn't cost any more. There's a great expression, good design doesn't have to be expensive. It's really true. People make assumptions that if something is really well designed, it costs more. No. Oftentimes, if it's well designed, it costs less and it lasts longer. So this is a great example of that. Hopefully there'll be some future projects like this.
Well, it's great that you mentioned that, because after I leave here, I'm going to walk down to a business that did just that.
Opened up something that was
opened up the
already
Jolly
covered?
Giant Creek. It used to be under a big parking lot, and this business opened it up, Scott McBain, and I'm going to go meet Scott, and he's going to show me how he did that. And it's just 2 blocks down from here.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah.
What a great thing.
It is. So thank you to you and the other council members who voted to keep this open. That 35 years ago, and it's still here.
Thank you for bringing attention to this. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks again, Julie. I got to
welcome.
get going on my expedition.
Okay.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Okay, now the creek goes underground for about 2 blocks. And in 2 blocks, we are going to meet where the creek again resurfaces at that spot that I was telling Julie about, where Scott McBain unearthed the creek from an old parking lot. And he's supposed to, oh, we better get going. He's waiting for us. Let's go. Hey Scott, here I am.
Hey Ray, it's good
Thanks,
to see you.
Hey, thanks so much for meeting me out here today.
Welcome.
You have a Jolly Giant Creek oasis in your backyard.
Yes, we do. Got lots of trees back here, and
Let's go see it.
you want to go check it out?
Yeah, let's go. So, what is this building right here?
So this is our office building. We built this back in 2003 to house our environmental consulting business. And we all work here and enjoy the creek together.
Okay, what a lovely yard to come into during your breaks.
Yep.
All right, well, let's get down to the creek.
Wow, Scott, this place is beautiful. It's like a little oasis down here.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, so this used to just be a dirt parking lot back in 2002. It was owned by Isaacson Ford. And then when they ended up closing down, we ended up buying the property from them because we knew that the creek was here, and because we do environmental river restoration work, it was just a great fit for us. We could build our building and create a really nice environmental condition out here, both for the ecosystem as well as our employees right behind our building. Just like a dream come true.
So can you tell me the story how you actually built this creek?
First thing that we needed to do was we needed to remove the dirt off the top of the culvert, because the culvert was probably about 4 feet down underneath the ground. And then once we got the concrete culvert exposed, then we had to use concrete saws on either end, and we cut the concrete. And then what we had to do is go inside the culvert and build a dam in the upstream end and then the downstream end to divert water around our construction site. Then we had to do a fish rescue in the existing culvert, and we moved those fish downstream before we then jackhammered the concrete out. So then once we had all the concrete rubble, we had to move that out of the stream, and that allowed us then to begin doing actual stream restoration work. And we created a nice little floodplain bench here. And then we have steep side slopes here just to maximize the amount of space that the creek has that floods can inundate.
Here we are in the center of Arcata. The plaza is only a few blocks away, and yet it's so peaceful and serene in here.
Yeah, very quiet and shady. It's pretty nice. You want to go sit down in a nice little spot?
Oh yes, I'd love to. Let's do that.
All right. Yeah, come on over here, Ray. This is a nice spot.
This is nice. Wow, Scott. So this is one of these redwood logs that you actually put in here. It wasn't in here originally.
Yep. It was just Humboldt Bay muds and soil in here, and so we kind of like had to rebuild everything in here, including all the gravels and the large wood and the trees.
You know, I could see so much life here. I could see the water flowing. I could see the water striders.
Yeah, we see lots of birds in here, and we've had egrets in here and hawks. So it doesn't take much to pull, nature in, even in an urban setting. It's pretty amazing. Well, another big reason that we did this project was to remind the community that there's actually a fairly major creek that goes through downtown Arcata, and there are many other communities like San Luis Obispo and others that have embraced the creek as not a nuisance to development, but something that can be embraced as part of future development and reconnecting the people to the creek. So we're really hoping that this example can kind of build enthusiasm for doing other types of projects like this, and get people engaged that, hey, there's a creek down here and it's beautiful and it has a lot of values to the community.
Gee, thanks, Scott, so much for giving us this tour, but also I just really want to thank you for taking the leadership and creating this legacy that will be in Arcata for decades to come.
Well, it's definitely a team effort. My wife Becky and our partners here in the building all contributed, but it takes a team to make something like this happen.
This is a beautiful creek.
Great. Well, thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thank you, Scott, for having me. Okay, off on the adventure again. Jolly Giant Creek resurfaces here at 5th Street. From here, it flows above ground for 1 block. And then it goes underground one last time as it goes through an underground culvert that goes under Samoa Boulevard. And after that, it flows through the Arcata Marsh. And then it flows out into Humboldt Bay, which is a little bit over a half mile from this point right here. So I invite you to join me next time for the third and final part of this expedition as I follow the Jolly Giant Creek as it flows out into Humboldt Bay right here in Humboldt Outdoors.